Hey, how's it going everyone? This is While I am here. In today's Discussion Tuesday, I want to talk a little bit about camera design, especially since Fujifilm just announced their new camera bodies going into 2020, although we expect both of these cameras to be available in 2019, probably around the holiday season where there is going to be a lot of purchasing of cameras. What I find interesting about this topic right now is how divergent the two designs are and how important that is to the future of camera systems. Because right now, a lot of the camera manufacturers, what they're doing is they're designing cameras that kind of fit everybody. In other words, it kind of, shoehorns everybody into one camera design, or it has enough features to where everybody is mostly happy. But Fujifilm's doesn't seem to be taking that route. Take, for example, the X Pro 3. It has a very interesting design. They really went out there and tried to design something that's a little bit different from anything that's currently out there in the modern era. Now, they did take advantage of some of the vintage designs and kind of modernized it, but you're really not seeing that type of design with any of the other camera manufacturers because they want their cameras to sell to the mass audience. So it's going to fit mostly everybody's needs, whereas Fujifilm's, they're kind of catering each camera body to a niche market. So take, for example, the X Pro 3. On my previous video, I kind of asked the community about what they think about it, and there's been a lot of feedback. Thank you so much for, emailing me or talking to me in the comments on that. I definitely see a group of people that really love this type of design, and this is something that they've been looking forward to and they're excited about, and that's really what you want. You want camera designs to actually excite specific parts of the community because that builds brand loyalty, and as long as that's there, you're always going to have a customer for life. I see Fujifilm's doing this as a way of actually keeping their community happy. So they have multiple camera bodies. They're going to be for specific groups, and they're going to keep those groups super happy. So bringing this conversation back to camera design, what you're seeing here is a body that's very familiar to a specific group of people, but when you flip down the screen, you still have all of the modern features that you would expect from a digital mirrorless camera. Now, when you compare the X Pro 3 to another camera body they just announced, which is the XA7, that is completely different. It's almost the polar opposite of an X Pro 3. They've completely removed the viewfinder. They made the screen a lot more larger, a lot more bold. They removed buttons. It's a much more modern interface, although it still has the old interface built in, which in all honesty, they should have just left that out and just went bold with that design and just went with the modern GUI design, because that's really where they need to go for that specific market or that specific group of people. So for those type of people, they're looking for lightweight, modern design and something that's very easy to use, very functional, something that is a direct upgrade to their smartphones. And hopefully what Fujifilm's will do with that camera system is that they will continue to support it and add new features onto it over a period of a few years before upgrading to, the next camera body, because that's something that we would expect from a modern camera bodies nowadays. Just like smartphones, every couple of months, most of the software gets updated. There's new enhancements, new features. We would expect that from a trendy modern camera body in which, you have that large screen, the modern OS, taking great content. You would also expect that camera to continue to improve for the next couple of years before upgrading to the next camera body and continuing that trend going all the way forward. So what you're seeing here is you have a camera body with a lot of features in the X Pro 3, an older menu system because you need a lot of settings for the real enthusiasts and for the professionals, because they really want to dig in there and really configure that camera to their taste, because that's what you really need to do if you're a professional or enthusiast. You're really going to customize those settings to what you want to do. And then you have the demographic where they just want something that's easy to use, very modern, and something that's a direct upgrade to your smartphone, or at least a companion piece to your smartphone. So there's going to be another group like that. I don't think the two groups really mix and match with each other. So having multiple camera bodies that cater to each group and really not compromising on that design, I think that's a smart move, but it's only going to be for a few companies because they have to be willing to support a lot of different camera body designs, which Fujifilm's doesn't seem to have a problem with, because if there's one thing that Fujifilm's has plenty of, it's actually a lot of camera bodies that they actually launch every year, because there's always a couple of them, and it seems like each year they're starting to really stretch further and further apart from each other, in which they're really finding their niches, and the ones that don't find niches, they should probably cancel and then replace it with something else. One of the things that I would talk about for the XA7 is there's really no direct upgrade for the XA7 the way that it's designed designed right now. Still need to get that camera body in my hands before I actually completely confirm that. But really what I'm hoping for there is that the XT100, the second version of that, should be a direct upgrade to the XA7. Everything on it should be better, and it should be very modern. It should have the same design aspects of the XA7 incorporated into the XT100. At least that's what I'm hoping for, because I would love to see an XT series of cameras following the design patterns of the XA7, because I think a lot of smartphone users would be attracted to that type of design, and we get rid of the traditional menu settings that we see in normal camera bodies, because it's really hard to navigate through, and nobody really wants to do that when you actually use a modern smartphone. So to wrap up this discussion, I just really want to say I actually really like the two camera designs. I like where they're going with it. I'm not going to buy both cameras, but I can definitely respect Fujifilm's for actually doing something like this. I don't think every camera body needs to resonate with the entire community. Now, in my opinion, I really love the exterior of the X Pro 3. I think it's very vintage. It really looks great as a camera body. And when you fold down that screen, the only thing that I wish they did was that I wish they had made that into a double screen. I know it's wishful thinking. It's definitely on the wish list, and it probably would have made the camera body a little bit bigger. But the reason why I say that is because I really like the idea of having a compact body like that that's very vintage, but when you open that screen up, it's a powerhouse system for your editing or your just content creation needs. So you can actually just fold that down, see two screens. You can type up something like, ooh, I really like this spot. Let me set a reminder to come back at 8 p.m., which is, twilight or golden hour, and take that same picture. And then it'll give you a warning. It'll GPS you to the exact spot if you forgot about it. Or you can actually just edit the picture right there very easily, because you can look at the picture while having the slider bars. And then you can kind of just email it off to yourself, or maybe you ran into a person and they wanted that picture, and you can directly email it to that person right there. Just make your life easier, because having a dual screen or just a screen that's large enough to hold a keyboard or some settings or some sliders while being able to see that picture would be really awesome. So I wish they just went a little bit further with that. Maybe we'll see it in the next X Pro body, being able to design a camera body that isn't generic in nature, that's for everybody. It's actually for a specific type of photographer. On the other side, for the XA7, I actually really like the design. This one's more my type of camera. That's why I will be purchasing one. I personally would have completely removed the old menu system and go ahead and start driving down what the new modern OS would look like. You're most likely going to miss a few things and people are going to tell you about it, but then you would just add them back in a modern design way through firmware updates or OS updates. I would just call it OS updates, because that's kind of what you're building, and that's kind of what the people that would be interested in that type of camera, you got to speak their lingo. So that's what I would start calling it. So hopefully one of the things that Fujifilms will start concentrating on for these type of modern cameras is really the OS features and touchscreen, and really driving all of the technology and all of the settings through that touchscreen, so that, when people pick it up from a modern standpoint, it's going to feel very comfortable to them, because it's going to look and feel a lot like interfacing with a smartphone. I feel like that type of camera would need something like that. You really don't want them to see the old menu settings, because that's not what they really want to see. That's all I have to discuss for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely leave your comments below on what you think about the camera designs that you're seeing from Fujifilms. I'll see you next time in the next video.